I need to be more consistent. I just need a better routine. If I could just get organized, everything would work. How many times have you said some version of that to yourself? And how many times have you tried to create that consistency, build a routine, a new one, get that organization strategy under your belt, only to watch it fall apart within weeks or maybe days? Especially at this time of year when we begin a fresh year on the calendar, this feels familiar. Here's what I've learned after coaching dozens of homeschool moms. The problem isn't your lack of consistency. The problem is what you think consistency is supposed to look like and why you think you need it in the first place. Today, I'm taking you inside an aligned homeschool reset session with a mom I'm calling Audrey. She came to me in year 3 of homeschooling, feeling stuck in the same cycle that you might be in right now. And what became clear in our session together wasn't what she expected at all. Welcome to the Confident Homeschool Mom Podcast. I'm Teresa Wiedrich, graduated homeschool mom turned certified life coach. This month, we're exploring the theme, Small Steps Create Big Shifts. And I want you to see what that actually looks like in real time in a real homeschool mom's life. Most of us think we need massive overhauls. We think we need to fix everything all at once. We think that the problem is us, that we're somehow failing or just not enough. But what I see again and again in my reset sessions is that you're not failing, you're carrying too much. You're working against yourself instead of with yourself. And oftentimes you're trying to homeschool like someone you're not. So today, instead of me teaching you something, I want you to listen to Audrey's story. I want you to hear her words, the actual language she used to describe her struggles, because I have a feeling you might recognize yourself in her experience. And then I want you to see what shifted for her when we slowed down, got curious, and made space for one small 1% pivot. If you've been thinking about booking a free aligned homeschool reset session, but you're not quite sure what that entailed or whether it's really for you, this episode will give you a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to do this together. Okay, so let's dive in. Before every aligned homeschool reset session, I send a form to help moms get clearer on what's actually happening beneath the surface. It's not about the logistics of their homeschool routine, it's about their emotions or their relationships, their sense of self, their boundaries, and the invisible weight that they're carrying. Let me introduce you to Audrey. She's not a real name, and I've changed some details to protect her privacy. But her language, the way she describes her experience, that is 100% real. Her words matter, and I think you might hear yourself in them. So question 1 is, tell me about your current homeschool season. Audrey wrote, year 3 of homeschooling, my kids are 9, 6, and 3. Consistency has been hard for me, deschooling myself and my expectations, outside judgment from family members. 3 years in, 3 kids, and 3 big challenges packed into those 2 tiny sentences. Let's just pause there for a moment. Do you actually hear what she's carrying? She's trying to show up consistently, and she's already decided she's failing at it. She's trying to deschool her own conditioning while actively homeschooling her kids. And she's doing all of this while managing outside judgment from the people closest to her. That is emotional labor on top of educational labor on top of relational labor. Oh, and did you catch that she also has a toddler? Here's what I want you to notice. She didn't say, I'm struggling with math curriculum, or my kids won't sit still. She went straight to consistency, expectations, and judgment of herself. That tells me that the struggle isn't primarily about homeschooling. It's about how she feels about herself while she's homeschooling. So question 2 is, what inspired you to reach out right now? Audrey wrote, I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm in the early stages of learning strategies to better manage my life. A book suggested coaching in areas I need help in, Staying organized, consistent, and trusting the process has been difficult for me. Okay, so here is a woman who just received a diagnosis that reframes her entire life. She's learning that her brain works differently. She's trying to figure out how to work with it instead of against it. By the way, an entire guess at numbers here, but I think 50% of the women I work with are diagnosed ADHD. But what does she immediately focus on? Staying organized, being consistent. Do you hear the pressure in those words? Here's what I heard when I read this. She's been trying to homeschool like someone whose brain works differently than hers. And what I heard in her aligned homeschool reset session is that she's been blaming herself for not being able to do it. Let me name the struggles from a list that I have of 12 of the most frequent struggles that I see coming up for homeschool moms. Okay, so here they are. Here are the ones that I see coming up for Audrey. I feel like I am never doing enough. Also, I don't trust myself. Trusting the process is difficult. And I feel like I'm failing even though I'm trying so hard. She is reaching out to me because what she's doing isn't working. Do you relate to any of that? Because you are definitely not alone if you relate to any of that. Question 3 is, what do you hope to gain from coaching? Audrey wrote, all of the above. Clarity, confidence, practical tools, personal growth, and gentle accountability, support, and advice. Translation. I need everything. I need help. I don't know how to do this alone anymore. And girlfriend, if that is you too, I want you to hear me. This is actually wisdom. It's self-awareness that you're finally being honest with yourself about what you actually need. Okay, so question 4 is, are there specific emotional challenges you're navigating? Audrey wrote, overwhelmed at times, moments of feeling uncertain, difficulty motivating my kids to do the work, self-doubt, drama happening in our co-op and social circle. So if we break that down, she's feeling overwhelmed, she's uncertain, she's got kids who won't engage, she has self-doubt, she has relational conflict in her community. That's not one struggle, that's 5. And here's what I noticed. She didn't say always overwhelmed or constantly uncertain. She said at times and moments, like she's trying to minimize it, and she sometimes does. Another struggle that I hear from her is that I'm afraid I'm letting my kids down. That's a common one I hear from moms. I hear them say that because they have a hard time motivating their kids. They also say, I'm constantly comparing myself to others. For Audrey, the drama in her co-op and social circle suggested comparison and belonging wounds that she has experienced before that. So question 5 is all about boundary challenges. Do you have boundary challenges with unsupportive family or friends? She wrote, yes, most everyone is supportive. My dad, though, who is the most involved in our lives, is the most vocally judgmental and resistant over our decision to homeschool. There it is. The person who's most present in her life is also the person most critical of her choices. That takes a lot of energy to show up to your homeschool every day while carrying someone else's disapproval inside of you. I'm guessing you likely do get that because this is a common conversation point too. What I heard Audrey say in the session was that I don't have healthy boundaries because it feels mean to have them. Most everyone in her world is supportive, except the one who she can't seem to insulate herself from. That's a real challenge for her, that relationship. Question 6 is, what is one area where you feel stuck? She wrote, consistency in routine, finding our pace. And there it is again, consistency, routine, pace. She thinks she is the problem and that if she could just find the right rhythm or figure out the right routine, then everything would click. What I've learned is that when a mom is struggling with consistency, it is rarely about the routine. It's usually something much deeper. Question 7 is, how ready do you feel to explore change now? She wrote, I'm interested, but still uncertain. Oftentimes, moms come with this struggle. They say, I can't keep living like this, but I don't know how to change it, or I'm afraid to change it. She knows something needs to shift. She's reaching out, but she's also hesitant, maybe even scared that coaching won't work or that she'll fail at this thing too. If that's you, you're listening to this and thinking, I'm interested, but I don't know if I'm ready. I want you to hear that that hesitation could be your nervous system protecting you, and it's probably also a sign that you are indeed close to something true, something really meaningful. So we got on the call, and within the first 10 minutes, here's what became clear. Audrey wasn't struggling with consistency because she lacked discipline or a good routine. She was struggling with consistency because she was trying to homeschool like a neurotypical person, and her newly diagnosed ADHD brain doesn't work that way. She was also carrying her dad's voice in her head every single day. It made her second guess herself. It made her feel defensive in her choices. She was trying to prove that what she was doing was right. And she also had no idea what her version of consistency would even look like when I asked her, so what does it actually look like? She couldn't actually give a measurement or a rubric for that standard. Notice that we didn't talk about curriculum. We didn't actually really talk about routines. We talked about her. We talked about what she actually needed. And here's what began to shift. Shift number 1. Moving from I need to be more consistent to what does consistency mean for my brain? I asked her, what if consistency for you doesn't look like showing up the same way every day? What if it looks like showing up in ways that work with your brain instead of against it? She hadn't even thought about it that way. Of course she hadn't, because we're all conditioned to believe that consistency means rigidity, sameness, stringent discipline. But for an ADHD brain, consistency might mean flexible anchors instead of rigidity. In fact, I would suggest to you that many of us prefer that. It might mean one non-negotiable anchor each day instead of a 7-subject checklist. It might mean designing her homeschool around energy and interest instead of forcing herself into a structure that feels depleting. That is a 1% shift from I need to fix myself to fit the routine to I can design a routine that fits me. Shift number 2 is going from I'm failing my kids to what if this is working better than I think? I asked her, you said it's hard to motivate your kids, but what if they don't need any motivation? What if they need something else? She sat with that, perplexed. But then she told me about all the ways her kids were actually learning, the things they were curious about, the projects they initiated, the questions they asked. She'd been so focused on getting them to do the work that she hadn't been noticing the work they were already doing. Another 1% shift was moving from my kids won't engage to actually maybe my kids are already engaging, just not the way I expected. Shift number 3 is from I need my dad to approve to I get to trust myself even when he doesn't. This, as you can imagine, was the biggest one. I asked her, what would change if you stopped trying to prove to your dad that you're doing this right? A silence. And then she said something like, I don't know if I can do that. And I said, I'm not asking you to cut him off or stop caring what he thinks. I'm asking, what if you could hold your own, knowing even when he doesn't agree? That's the work right there, isn't it? That we're not trying to convince other people, but we're learning to trust ourselves when others don't trust us. The 1% shift here is moving from I need him to believe in me to I can believe in me even if he doesn't. So if you're listening to this and you're hearing yourself in Audrey's story, here's what I want you to know. You really don't need to overhaul everything. You definitely don't need a perfect routine. P.S. It does not exist, just like perfect curriculum does not exist. And no one is doing their perfect routine. Life definitely interrupts all of us at times. Life does its lifing. You don't need to be more disciplined or more organized or more consistent in the way you think you should be. You need just one small shift. And here are the 2 1% pivots I'm offering you today. The same ones Audrey is practicing right now. The first one is to stop trying to be consistent with everything. Start being consistent with just one thing. Maybe a full routine is just not for you and you need one anchor to hold on to. For Audrey, it's morning time, but it might not be for you. But for her, she said 10 minutes to be with her cup of coffee and inspirational reading. Then she could invite the kids to read with her, if someone was awake. And mostly they were, but when they weren't, she would add journaling too. That's it. What is your one thing? What's the one anchor that if you showed up to it most days would help you feel like you're doing enough? Don't overthink it, by the way. Just pick one. The 1% pivot number 2 is to stop homeschooling like someone you're not. This is the beautiful thing in this homeschool life. You can customize every element of it. It should look like your children and you. Start designing around who you actually are. If you are diagnosed ADHD, you don't want to try to use a neurotypical routine. If you're an introvert, you need to stop trying to do co-op twice a week. If you need more people, but you still want to get stuff done, bring the kids and their books to a cafe. Ask yourself, what if I stopped trying to fit into someone else's version of homeschooling and started creating my own? That, by the way, is self-leadership. That's you becoming the most important part of your kids' curriculum and honoring yourself. Here's what I know. Small steps can create big shifts. Audrey did not leave our session with a color-coded planner. She left with clarity, though, and she left with permission to do her homeschool the way that reflected her. She also left with one small shift she could actually practice. And that's what I want for you too. If you've been carrying the weight of I'm not doing enough, I'm failing my kids, I can't trust myself anymore, I can't trust myself, or I can't keep living like this, I want you to know that you're not failing. You're not too much or not enough. You're just trying to homeschool like someone you're not. And you're doing it without support, likely. Also likely without space for yourself, without permission to design this life in a way that actually works for you. I offer free aligned homeschool reset sessions on Tuesday afternoons and Friday afternoons. Audrey experienced a moment when something really clicked. For her, the pressure began to release. She realized she doesn't have to carry it all by herself. And neither do you. In a reset session, we walk through the same form Audrey completed. We get curious about what's really happening beneath the surface in your relationships, your emotions, your sense of self, your boundaries, your energy and capacity. We uncover your 1% shift, the one small thing that can start to change everything. If you're ready to go deeper, to untangle your overwhelm and build a homeschool life that actually fits you, then you're invited to book a free aligned homeschool reset session. You'll find the link waiting for you in the show notes. Book next Tuesday. It's free, and it's for you, the woman who's been taking care of everyone else that she likely forgot that she deserves care too. As we wrap up today, I want to bring us back to the heart of this year and the season of this podcast. This year is all about walking with intention, making small pivots, and building a homeschool mom life that feels like yours. 1 month, one conversation, 1% shift at a time. Not big overhauls, just a 1% pivot from pressure to presence. That's actually how confidence grows, and it's how your homeschool begins to feel calmer, more connected, and more aligned with who you actually are. Remember that you are your child's most important curriculum. Not what you plan or organize, but who you are becoming, who you already are. That 8-year-old girl inside you, the one who used to sing loudly, dream big dreams, and believe she could do anything, she's still in there. She deserves space. She deserves to come alive again, just like you want for your kids. You have the capacity to lead your days with presence, calm, and clarity, not pressure, perfectionism, or old narratives that were never yours to begin with. Every tiny shift you make toward alignment ripples into your kids and your home and your sense of self and purpose. That is the power of a 1% pivot, small enough to be doable, meaningful enough to change everything over time. If this episode resonated, would you hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next? And if you know another homeschool mom who might resonate with this episode too, would you consider sharing it with her? It might be exactly what she needs. Until next time, take care of yourself, nurture the nurturer, and keep leading your homeschool life aligned from the inside out. You don't have to do everything or carry everything. You're allowed to show up fully for yourself and your kids. One small shift, 1% pivot from pressure to presence. I'm really glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next episode.